Tulsa County Equalization Board to order for Wednesday, May 19, 2021. I'm Ted Catchell, I chair the board. My colleagues are Charles Vanderbilt and Ruth Gaines, and we're here to review the agenda as it has been posted and deal with the appeals and resolve them today if at all possible. First order of business, however, is just to call the roll.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwilly,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines.
Yes.
It's ordered. We're all present. The protests are divided into residential and commercial, and we were printed up that way, and we'll take them in that order. The first protest, therefore, on our agenda is protest number 1291, Joel 225 LLC Residential. Who's here?
Yes, sure.
Please come join us up here. You can sit right there, and that microphone is on. You can pick it up if you want, but it'll usually pick up your voice.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sure. First thing I always do is read into the record what I had in terms of what you've submitted in writing. And then I will ask you to comment or explain any parts of it which you think are particularly useful for the board to consider. But also you can at that time add anything you want from your own. All right. This property is located at 7701 Briarwood Avenue, Broken Arrow. The county's previous assessed value was $165,089. They were proposing to lower it after being formal to $145,000. He indicates that he believes it should come down to a corrected value of $110,509 for the following reasons. Although I have painted the exterior, it is not updated. This is a 1970s non-updated rent house, not ready for sale. All bath, other cabinets have no handles, desperate need replacing. There is structural damage, unlike other homes that investors have gotten updated. My home has formica, low ceilings, dark spaces, a closed floor plan. It is a rent house, but often rent houses are abused. All right, I see you have attached some other things, including an appraisal. I'm going to let you point to that as you go through your presentation.
Oh, the appraisal?
If you want to.
I have no comment on it. I hired this guy and,
Okay.
right?
The only thing I noticed just in glancing at it, because that's all I had time to do, was the amount you requested is lower than his appraisal. His appraisal came in at $131,320.
On 7701?
That's what's attached to this document.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, 7701 Briarwood is what he has at the top of the appraisal report.
The front page of that appraisal, he's got 128 for me. I don't know what discrepancy is there. It's probably not significant.
Got it? Yeah. Is rental one? Yeah. Second page of the package. Yeah. Well, is there anything else, other than this document and the pictures?
Well, I would say this here, that the tenant that was in there vacated prematurely. And there are roughly $9,000 worth of damages. I think it's 8,500 to 9,000. I forgot exactly how much that we are seeking in damages. It has been filed in small claims court. It's, I think, going sometime in June. So, and that's, I'm not a Bob Vila guy. I have to go in there and hire people. I don't have a hard time putting a doorknob on, I mean, when they leave a house, it's almost, it's kind of a nightmare. You don't know what to expect. But in this case, there was damage and, we have an attorney, Bob Huddleston, pursuing it. Beyond that, I don't have anything to say, really.
Well, other than that, information around $10,000 worth of damages, quite often we consider that in what we call cost to cure to bring it up to market value. I noticed you said that obviously it's a rental property. You intend to go on renting it out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And did I see in terms of what we'll have of course, the assessor staff comment, as they always do on any of these appeals in a minute. But just on their initial thing that they showed us, they say you're renting this for $1,400 a month. Is that correct?
Well, I'd rather not get into how much I rent it for. I mean, if that's, that's.
Well, we typically.
We had it advertised at one time,
Typically ask that.
1175, and then, I mentioned 1,400.
And the other question I typically ask about rental properties is, do you have a client currently in it? Is it leased up? And if so, what is the extent of the current lease?
We have leased it, yes, sir.
Okay, and what is the lease like? Do you know?
Well, I'm trying to get longer leases. I'm trying to get a 3-year lease on it.
Okay, well, good luck with that. So there, nothing else you particularly want to add
Not
on
really,
this
sir, not
property?
really.
Okay, I read into what you give us in writing, so I'm gonna ask the staff from the assessor's office to come forward, identify themselves and talk about why they believe it should be maintained at this 145 that they set up.
I'd like to ask a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles.
In your write-up, you say structural damage.
Oh, I didn't mention that. Yeah, we did have an estimate. I think I emailed that from Pier King. We had a lot of damage near the bay window area. That's where they wanted to put piers. We reconstructed that bay window on the inside, new drywall and stuff. So anyway, that I did not mention that. Appreciate you bringing that up. I have this estimate if you need it.
If you wish to submit it.
Yes, sir, I would like to do that.
Okay.
And it's right here.
Charles, since you asked the question, I'll let you give the estimate.
So this document takes care of the structural damage, the $5,100. Is that?
I believe so, yes.
But that's what it's intended for.
But
Yeah, 5,100.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I'd like to know the restricted appraisal report, what is, can you tell me?
I don't know. I told them to appraise it, and that's what he gave me.
Why it's called restricted?
Normally I have Dan Simon come here and, he's kind of semi-retired. It's a friend of his that's appraiser.
Your, this appraisal, Jerry Cisco,
Yes,
he's saying 128,000, and you're saying 110.
Yeah, I mean, I just grabbed that out of the air, to be honest. I mean, I don't, I'm not gonna, there's no science behind
It's
it.
actually
you know.
110,509.
I mean, if I could say 50,000, I'd say 50.
You grab it out of the air, make it as interesting as possible.
Well, I bought the home for 103,000. I mean, I did buy it for 3. I wasn't too long. We're, Chairman Greenspan, who used to be a Federal Reserve chairman, he's talked about irrational exuberance, and that's what you've got right now. I mean, it's just irrational. And it's not sustainable. Personally, that's what I believe. And one day, the blank will hit the fan, and it'll be on the opposite end. And, the appraisers aren't going to lower everything dramatically overnight, so I don't know, that's my commentary, editorial.
Sure.
Eric Severine,
Why
you
not?
remember him?
I do, but it does
They've
put
got
you
dates
and
too.
I in a certain age bracket. I don't usually admit that. Please introduce yourself to the board and speak to why the assessors staff had this higher number.
I'm Don Kelly with the Tulsa County Assessor's Office. It looks like during the informal appeal, the appraiser had talked to Mr. Equal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he had lowered it $20,000 to kind of make it fit in market, to towards the lower end of the market. And kind of to fit the $1,400 income that was received. We had it at 165. But the 145 fits it where I think the appraiser had wanted it to be a little bit lower end because of the issues that were brought up in the informal.
So those kinds of cost secure matters.
Yeah. I mean, we don't, like I said, we're not in these houses, so we don't know exactly what we've got or what taxpayers have got. But we tried to put the house a little bit more closer where it would, it falls into the bottom part of the market here. Like I say, these houses, I mean, this neighborhood is, of course, over at Broken Arrow, nuts. Like he had said, I mean, it's gotten, but this right here at this number puts it in a lower end of the market as it sits right now.
Yes, I saw that.
Right.
Essentially, you are, what they do is they show the board other properties here.
Sure.
Show you that they have to use for their comparables in the area. On the back side of it, they'll show you.
There's been a lot of investors come in, they've got the home out, all it up and everything, they put granite countertops, and that has influenced the market. And then somebody told me the other day that there's kind of a reverse grapes of wrath where everybody from California is coming here and they got tons of money from selling their home and they're just cashing it. In fact, my sister lives in Washington DC area. She wants to do that,
Sure, makes sense.
cost of living, it's totally different.
Tobacco Road in reverse. In any case, they do have you on in this particular property at the bottom of that neighborhood, all the other ones they're showing us. For that reason and for others, I wanted to hear the board out on whether they thought we should lower it based on some cost secured, maybe $10,000. But other than that, I'm inclined to begin with at least considering the possibility of sustaining what the assessor has set it at, since they're already at the bottom in terms of what they're showing us in the neighborhood. Other comments or questions, either two?
So is your number, you're saying, the 145 or 145 minus 10?
I'm willing to go down 10 to 135. That's if you want, I'll go ahead and move that and we can debate it, or somebody can give me a second.
I'll second.
Okay, I move that we adjust this fair market value on this property to 135,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote as the roll is called to adjust.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwilling,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
And this is the fair market with $10,000 of cost to cure.
Stay up here.
Make yourself comfortable.
A little exercise ain't gonna hurt me, but you know.
Didn't mean to talk to you.
No, well, I know a lot of people have. There's too many nice people in this world. Look what's made me.
Yes, yeah, you get all of that, don't you? This,
Yes.
all right, the next property also, of which you own is rental property 2. And it is protest number for the board 1292. Let me read what we have from you in writing about it, and then we'll give you a chance there if you want. Originally, this property, first begin with that, 804 West Decatur Street, Broken Arrow. It was previously on for $151,556. They were proposing to leave it at that. He says on his that he thinks he should, that we should correct it down to $106,670. For the following reasons: decline in the neighborhood, unrepaired damage to property, structural damage, vandalism by previous tenant, condition of the property due to sustained renters' abuse of property, rusty floor ducts, outdated low ceiling and dark, and the house has not ever been updated. It will take 5 figures to repair and make presentable after this tenant leaves, not profitable after expenses. Please, what would you like to add to that?
Well, this property here, which I bought for 92,000 or something like that, a long time ago, that was one. You know, this property here is in very poor condition. It was vandalized and it was, we had a court case in district court. It wasn't small claims. There were even water hoses in the ductwork on the floors. The police were there. I think you have the paperwork there. We had Amos, what do they call it? Vacuum, and they cleared ducts and stuff. They removed all that water from the plant there. So, you know, we never did reroute the ducts. You know, the floor plan, it's got a water heater inside the house. It's got a furnace and a closet, which I'm always worried about. The floor plan is the same, dark. I don't know if you have pictures that I sent
Yeah,
over.
you did.
Yeah, there you go. Are they interior pictures
Yeah.
from the appraiser
Well,
or
they're
from me?
both exterior and interior.
Okay,
Yeah, it looks like we got a big dog there or something.
yeah, there you go. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But anyway, right now, if they were to leave, thank God I renewed that lease. But if they were to leave, I can only imagine what I'm facing in there. In fact, I was there not too long ago. I would say, when the appraiser was there, I was there and I noticed a cat in the window. And I never allow cats. You know, but what happens when you rent homes is they say, well, it's only me and my husband and so forth. And then as time passes, there's another family, there's another person, some other kids. They said, we only have one dog. One guy said there's only one dog. He had 5 dogs. So there's always an evolution, you know. In fact, I told Brian Huddleston, I said, make me an affidavit where they have to sign it, stating who's coming in, who's going to be staying there, who's not. And you'll see one house that I can talk about, that, you know. But anyway, that home is, you know, that home is in bad shape, I believe. It's got structural damage. We have the structural, we have not repaired it, and I'm not going to until when I decide to sell it. if they require the lender that we fix it, then fine. If not, then, forget about it, I don't know what else I could add to that. I mean, probably of all the homes, that's the worst one in terms of condition. And, the way it's got, the coil, cooktop, it's got the formica, the sink is like, almost looks somewhat like the original one.
But you still get the rent for it?
Yeah.
And the rent is according to the information we have of,
It's
oh,
not
it wasn't
disclosed.
disclosed. But if it's anything like what you're getting on the other one, then I think we do have to take that in consideration. If you are achieving an income from a property, that is part of its value. Okay, your appraiser came in at 115,000 on this one.
That neighborhood too is in decline, without doubt. I would never buy another home in that neighborhood, even though its proximity is not that far away from two others. That neighborhood in particular, there's just, I don't know what it is about that neighborhood. Who knows?
And I see the attached report that you commented on also about the police, famous invoice, et cetera.
I do not believe that home, if you put it on the market today, there's no way it would bring that price. There's no way it could do that. I mean, it's just, that one there is in poor condition on the inside. The only thing that mitigates it is I always require long leases. In this one, they have a 5-year lease.
Wow.
They got one more year on it. And, we're saying, whatever,
Other questions from members of the board?
I'm looking at the date on the police report. That happened what in?
It happened a long time ago, but nothing has
203,
been
and-
remedied regarding the damages, except pulling out the water and the water hoses that were inside the duct.
That's been remedied,
No, nothing has been remedied.
Just- but the incident happened.
The
back
ducts have incurred much
2003.
damage, I mean, it's, I don't know if there's any mold issue, any liability there. I try to put as much liability on these insurance policies, which are going up. So much so, I think I'm gonna end up with just have liability insurance and no property insurance anymore. When you add the property tax, the property insurance, the property insurance is just going nuts. I had AAA and they keep going up and they keep going up, and it's just, I call them up, I chew them out, and I said, I haven't had any claims. I said, what are you insuring me for? They're insuring me for a tornado
Yeah.
and a fire. Well, most fires are caused by, this arson. The owner burns it down. The tornado, I've been in Tulsa since 72. Tornado, there's one in East Tulsa, 1974, one in Catoosa. The people from Oral Roberts and Victory, they pray that the tornado will go away. We haven't had a tornado here in a long time.
Don't bring it up.
I'm serious, and thank God for that. Too. Now, the Baptists in more Oklahoma City, they've been having trouble. I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you what. I'm from Hereford, Texas, near Amarillo. So I kind of miss the old storms that we stopped, not tornadoes, but the storms, But it just seemed like the weather's all mild and everything,
This year it has
Oh,
been.
smile. There's nothing. And I'm just begging God, hey, please send a hailstorm. I want to get back at these insurance companies. It happens in Dallas, it happens in Norman, it never happens here,
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I've got,
Please.
you're asking, or you're saying the value would be 106,670?
Yes, sir.
That sounds like a pretty precise number, but your appraiser looks like he set it at 115.
Again, that's.
Rounding errors here.
Yeah.
That's, we had it at 103, that they raised it, I mean, that one has sustained substantial damage. And, I don't know, the backyard is awful. I mean, there's just nothing there. It's very, when you leave the back patio, I mean, you're facing the fence on, not too far, But after they've got the dogs and now the cat, and who knows if they get another cat. The cat is a big concern of me, but you know. Anyway, who knows?
All right. Okay. Please speak to this evaluation.
Again, Don Keller with the Tulsa County Assessor's Office. We've got, during the informal, like I say, with Mr. Dankel, they had left the value, and the values you can see on the comps that we used is at the bottom again.
Yeah.
This neighborhood's, it's sitting right now at about $93, or, houses that are comparable size to this one. This one's just barely under 2,000 square feet, which is a pretty popular size right now. But yeah, that's where we're at on that. We've got it lower than the rest of them, lower as far as the market value and stuff like that, because we're at $74 or $78, and market in there is about 90, 91 for that size of house. Again, like I say, that size of square footage is really popular right now, but you're gonna get 3 bedrooms, your 2 baths, and that kind of stuff. So
I was going to ask you one question, Donna. I did notice that a previous market was 106,670, and then when you set the current market this year, it went up to the 151,556.
yeah, a lot of that, this was our visual inspection area. So, I mean, and with the sales being what they are, that's where the values have jumped. I mean, a lot of these pretty high. So, like I say, we're kind of tasked with putting market values on this, especially on visual inspection. So you'll see big jumps on these that we come back in and have to relook at, because these last 2 years have been nuts.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
I mean, in 2006 and 7, you were talking like very small increments coming up, and it came up and everything. When it bottomed out in 2008, we didn't feel it as bad as if it does that in this year, we're gonna, because we've gone up probably 20% at least.
Oh, you're not kidding. The prices have probably gone up since we got here.
Yeah, that chair's cost us a lot more money. We're gonna have to get him out of here.
California, we go back over there, you know?
Well, I don't know if it's all from California, but there's a lot of money coming in, and there's no part of this county that I've seen that's not seen the effect of it. That's the crazy part. The tax sale next week, or 2 week, next month. We had a sheriff's sale that we were looking at this morning that was all at the market price. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So, but what's happened, a lot of this stuff is just the supply's not out there. So people are picking up anything and everything. I mean,
But that's dumb though, I wouldn't buy a home now. That's crazy. I'd wait for the crash.
well, if you were selling it, then you
The problem is if you sell it, you gotta go and buy
Well,
it.
that's true too. Yeah.
Because you're not getting ahead. It's just.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the craziest things I've ever seen. If we ever see something like this.
Not only that,
shocked.
but when you put it on the market, you better be
Ready to
prepared
go.
to find something else, or
Yeah.
you live in a hotel or who knows what.
All right. Essentially what the county is saying to us is that they spent time doing the visual inspection in this neighborhood. They're trending it up, trying to catch up with where the current fair market sales are going. So the only question I have in my mind is, in all fairness to the present owner, whether we should consider not catching up all in 1 year, but pick a figure that's somewhere from where he was last year, which was this 106, and the 151 that they want. The figure that leaped into my mind from nowhere, a little bit like you, was 130. But what are other members of the board inclined to do?
I think this house is just a little bit smaller than the one we.
I will say
Just had.
something about the size of the home. I think when I got a first mortgage on it, when I bought it, the appraisal was like 1,750 square feet. And I mentioned that way back when I protested years ago, whenever, And they go, well, we want to change that. And I didn't want to. I believe it at 1,900 because, you know, if you sell it, you know, let them figure out what the square footage is. So I will say that. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, that's it.
I think to be consistent.
You run out of
and take
gas.
10,000 off of the other one, I would say it would be, the 141 would be as low as that. He is getting rent for these
Yes,
properties.
you're right.
So to just take them completely out of the category of the neighborhood.
There's a big difference between a rent house and one that's ready to go and it's Zillow says it's worth this much. There's a huge difference on that.
Yeah, I certainly understand where you're coming from. I'm still inclined to go with my number. Charles, you get to decide.
Your
between
number
us.
was what?
I was doing it at 130. You could do 130.
I'm 141.
I like this lady.
Okay, then make the motion.
I move that we
please.
set the fair market value at 141,000.
How about 131? That's simple.
It's been moved and seconded to adjust to 141,000 as the fair market on this property for today. We'll vote as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes,
Mr. Van Willen,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes,
this is the fair market value, giving the upward trend in the market area.
Have you made your pronouncement on this on the price?
We just did.
Yeah, okay.
That was what that vote was. Yeah. Yeah, when we have the discussion amongst ourselves and vote, that's it for us today anyway.
Okay, I agree.
The next up on our agenda is 1293. And this one, get paperwork in front of me. This one also is in Broken Arrow, but it's located at 1200 East Wichita Court. They had it on previously for 270,883. They were proposing to leave it at that by the assessor. He says he believes it should be adjusted to 167,700. I'm sorry, even 167,000 even. For the following reasons, I was not allowed to enter or inspect the house prior to purchase. Unbeknownst to me, I purchased a house that has many defects that cannot be remedied. It is also a rental house. The house consistently has water in the first floor ducts, which cannot be rerouted in the two-story. Air Assurance said ductwork is inadequate to heat and cool the home and can't be remedied. There are structural issues. All right, and this is a rental. This was a sheriff's sale, according to them. You bought it that way. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I assume what they did was did they put it on for your deed price, or was it some other way they came up with
I mean,
it?
nobody else bid higher, the lender nor anybody else there. If you go to the sheriff's auction today, it's pretty competitive. I wasn't allowed, you can't go in the house and inspect these homes. You don't know what you're getting. When I got in the home, it was trashed out pretty good. But I later found out it has some defects. So there's consistently water in the ducts. The ducts are dirty. We were there with the appraiser. I mean, they just had dirt in them practically on, when you think what do you call that thing? I forgot what they call it, a little plastic vent thing. And then we had Air Assurance there to service it. I believe the guy's name was Ernie, and he brought along a salesman with Air Assurance to, I wanted to see if we could get a new unit, a larger unit. The units that are there, the condensers are very mojito, small. And anyway, he said that the ductwork is insufficient to heat and cool the house, and there's a document on that. So there's the two issues there that have to be disclosed. You try to sell the home, you have to fill out a disclosure statement.
Sure.
And of course, the house is very bland on the inside. I live in a much smaller home. My wife wanted to move there, but that house has got such a crummy floor plan. You walk right in, the stairs are there. And I just didn't want to move in there. Windows need replacing. You take a lot of money to replace those windows. I mean, you're $20,000. And then we had Eden Structural come by. There is water that accumulates on the south end. It just literally heats up the grass against the fence there. We're talking about doing a French drain or something like that, but he didn't think that would help. Now, I will say this here, the current tenant that is there has also decided to leave early, a year early on his lease. And this home here in particular, I have trouble with because, you have 2 or 3 families that want to move in and it becomes more people show up than what they have on the lease application. In this situation, he said it's just pretty much mostly him. Maybe his kids would show up. He had 1 dog, that's the one I mentioned. But he turned this home into a mini storage because I guess he could save money by just, and the home was so packed with heavy stuff and junk. And I found this out because in October, he left it had a leak in the bathroom. And it got all over the ceiling. We had to, call this Berggraf and all that. And I found out all the junk he has in there that he's using as a mini storage. And the weight was so much that I almost call AEI engineering to see if the second floor is in jeopardy. And I anticipate when he leaves, he'll be leaving maybe the end of June, that we're looking at maybe even a district court case where the damages are going to be big. I mean, the guy had stuff on top of the kitchen countertops, and it's just everywhere. I mean, it was crammed. I mean, I got pictures of it too. So I'm anticipating trouble with that situation.
How long have you owned the home?
Have I owned it? I think I bought it in 2012 in January. But anyway, and you will probably see that one, not just the rent he's not paying, but the damage that I anticipate from unbelievable amount of stuff, heavy stuff against walls, in the middle of the floor, everywhere. I don't even know how he can live there. And then he had 5 dogs, according to the neighbor. So, Mr. English is his name. He lives just 2 houses down. Trip English, he works for a food service, not Cisco, but the other one, Food USA or something. Kind of spied for me, But, renting, I can see why people don't want to rent. I mean, I can see how they want to flip instead of renting.
Yeah.
Or they want to buy an office warehouse and a triple net lease, I can see that. The character of people is just going downhill. I mean, it's native across the board. I mean, I don't know.
All right, the opinion of the appraiser that you submitted was that it's worth $180,000 in its current condition. Other questions from the board?
Again, it is a restricted appraisal report. We don't know what that means.
I don't know what a lender, how they would look at the two issues I brought up. The ducts that cannot, on a two-story, they can't be rerouted, they have water in them. And the other issue of the attic. Now, the guy who built that home wasn't a normal builder. The subdivision was built by Charles Sanders, and they've had issues with drainage in general in that neighborhood. But maybe that's got something to do, who knows? Maybe the water table, I don't know what it is, but, and then the other issue is the guy who built it was a rookie, an individual, a young man. Him and his girlfriend never moved in, and he did not do a good job. You know, again, you find this out when you buy a sheriff's sale house, you don't know. There was a sheriff's sale house here about 73rd, just south of Garnett. South of 71st, just east of there, and I've bid on it. And it was not that old of a home, it's a pretty nice home. I think it was in, I want to say, not Lancaster, but the one before Lancaster Park. And then I was able to get into the garage and I looked inside and that thing was structural. It had more problems. I just called them and I said, I'm not putting my deposit on this one. So you don't know what you're gonna get, you know, when you go to a sheriff's center, you know, you just never know. It's like the old Cracker Jack, you know, that employee inside. I'm dating myself, man. I'm pretty old.
Are there any other questions from the board?
I just want to note that the air assurance that's dated 10/31/18, so it's going back a little while.
That's true, but nothing has been done.
But it's been rented.
The only thing that's been done is we replaced a coil on one of the furnaces. We did do that. And, you know, another thing too, they never changed the air filters. I mean, they could be toxic, you know, they never change it. It's amazing. And they want to breathe all this dirty air. I mean, what is it?
The only other question I had, Don, maybe you can look at how did you guys separate the land value here from the improvement, you know?
I'm not exactly sure what you get at.
The land value versus the house on it. Usually they separate those two at the appraisal.
Oh, how's it? Oh. We got 34,000 on that. That's probably a pretty common number through the neighborhood.
That's what I was trying to get a sense of. Okay.
Yeah, and then, and if you look at the comps that we have and everything, the size of it makes it kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Because it's so much larger than everything else.
Yeah.
And if you notice, it did jump quite a bit this year, but again, that's another one of those visual inspected and the appraiser looking at the sales in the neighborhood, that's where the jump is there. But again, like I say, visual inspection's done before informal, so we're going on that it's a well-run house and you know, no issues, so.
Okay, this, pardon me, both because of the age and even though his current tenant sounds like it is part of the place and his appraisal is low. I realize it was sheriff's sale, and that's always a gamble. Nevertheless, it seems like the neighborhood does suggest that where the assessor has set it at 270,883 is pretty close to what a fair market value would be if he was to put it on the market. What do other members of the board think?
Not sure that I have any reason to waver.
So you're ready to sustain, is that? Okay. I will move to.
Can I, before you say
Please,
this?
please.
Again, those are two serious issues that have not been fixed. I mean, you say 270, really? I don't think you can get 270 out of home. My gosh, that carpet is gone. Forget it. It's a cheap carpet that you put in there from pro stores. Remember, the ductwork is dirty. There are issues of mold. I mean, there are liability issues there. You've got,
Well,
the fact that there is inadequate heat and air. I mean, and that cannot be remedied.
so how much do you think it would take if you were gonna try and sell it on the market? How much money would you have to go in there and put in to bring it up to where you could put it with a regular real estate person and say, sell this one?
Well, they're gonna give me a form that I have to fill out and delineate all the issues we've discussed here today and and the buyer's gonna see that and the lender will see that. And I don't know if there's the issue of can you sell it? Oh, let alone what's it worth? I mean, a property can have damage such that the lender's not gonna sign off on it, regardless of the guy's credit.
Well,
That's an issue right there.
we still have to do that today. That's our job. We have to set a fair market value as if you could sell it. We
Well, you're
can
going from
recognize
170.
damage, but we can't.
Right.
We
I
can't
would
do
say
nothing.
that it did go from 170 to 270. I would say let's bring it down to 240, which is the lowest of the legal sale.
Can we
that
meet
had.
halfway?
240 is the lowest in the neighborhood they're
Right.
showing us, yes. Okay, that's a proposal. Charles, what do you feel about that if she was to move that, 240? You and I were the ones trying to hold out for the term.
I would go with Bruce.
Okay, Ruth, make your motion, let Charles second it, and I will maintain my purity.
I'm moving to set the fair market value at $240,000.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to adjust to 240,000. We'll vote as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwall,
yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes,
This is the fair market value as established by the board today for this property.
I will say one thing here. But I probably wouldn't be here today if I hadn't been too, how argumentative and abrasive in the informal. I was talking to two women, with the county assessor. And I think if I had just been more amiable and I probably wouldn't be here today. And they would have discounted these properties. But, I ticked them off, and I shouldn't have done that. I gave a sermon on property taxes. Hey, our kids are graduated. They're not in school. What am I paying for this for? I'm not paying for school.
They said that was pretty helpful.
Is that right?
No.
I did. I learned my lesson.
I'm surprised you escaped.
No, I'm telling you, you get a couple of scoring women, man. I mean, it's terrible.
wow.
Okay.
It is a learning process. isn't it?
Oh. I even told them, hey, I've seen your property. How come it hadn't been raised? I really ticked them off.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear that part of
Oh.
it.
All right, we gotta move on here. The next item on our agenda is, if I have an agenda, did I give you my agenda? I've been able to do that.
yes, you
Okay.
Right address.
If I didn't.
You did.
I did.
What about that?
Gave it away.
Eric Williams, yes, sir.
Is he still there?
No, we ran him off.
He's collecting his pension,
He
huh?
kind of.
This is agenda item 1327. It is located at 7706 Briarwood Avenue in Broken Arrow. It was on for 170,885. After the informal, they lowered it to 165,885. He is requesting that we lower it to 117,000 for the following reasons. Although I have painted the exterior, the home has not been updated. It has a 21-year-old carpet. from CNC Tile. All kitchen, bath, and other cabinets have no handles and desperately need replacing. Structural damage, unlike other homes that investors have gutted and updated, my home has floor mica, low ceilings, dark spaces, and a closed floor plan with a tiny rail car kitchen.
There's a term for that, I forgot what is that term?
You got me there. I like the tiny road.
I used to drive them. When I was a kid, we used to go on trains, you know.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
But
Galley kitchen?
galley kitchen, I've heard that one too, although that's more nautical. All right, I was looking here, do you have another appraisal? I was gonna make sure we got that into the record. The opinion of value on the appraisal he is submitting is $125,000. Other questions or comments? I was trying to look at. It's a nice picture, that's for sure. This house was built in 1977, so it's one of the older ones that we're looking at with him today. They have it on for $86.31 a square foot, which puts him kind of right in the middle of the neighborhood as they are showing it to us.
I have a point here.
Please,
On the green bar,
yeah,
we're at item 1327.
I thought it was 1930, or I'm sorry, 1327.
1327, but
Yeah.
we don't have a 1327.
On the green bar, mine has it.
Well, no, on the package supporting it.
Here, I have
Okay,
1327.
I got 12.
Well, that was last, you've been reviewing last item. We did that one already. It may explain why you came in with a strange number, Charles. No, you don't know.
Okay,
Can we look at it? Did he turn his paper? You want to look back and see if you stuck it underneath your
no,
green
I've
sheet there or something?
already paused it.
Oh, you did?
So I'll listen with attention.
Well, here, you can look at, you don't have that, huh? Okay, look at that one. If you pick up anything on that I missed, but that was the one I read into the record.
Okay.
Ruth, while Charles was perusing that, do you have some questions?
I don't have any questions. This is just kind of like all of the others that we looked at. I wanted noted that it is a restricted appraisal. And that the repairs or the invoices are from 2018.
So what the damages, you're not saying the damages have changed, they just haven't been repaired, even though.
Well, you can see, I can put a copy of the Tulsa World.
Yeah.
And there you can see the door totally misaligned, and then there's the estimate from the Pier King to put piers there. The cabinets, you know, they have the old 70s handles and some are missing. I had those painted white. But when they took the doors off, they didn't put them in the same place, so some of the doors are lower. You know how you have two doors and one's lower than the other one? I mean, I would really need to change the cabinets, bathrooms, utility room, and the cabinets in the kitchen. The carpet is 21 years
Does
old.
the renter get a discount for all those bad things?
What's that?
Does the renter get a discount? for
No,
all
that's
those-
mine. That's where I live.
Well, that's where you live. Okay.
That's,
This is not a rental.
no, that's mine. That's my home. And you know, why do you like this home? Well, because, you know, these McMansions, they have these little postage stamp lots. You know, on the second floor, I mean, you're what, 10 feet or 5 feet away from the next house.
Well, you convinced me, I think we should sustain the.
No.
I think we should raise it.
But the carpet was, The carpet was a very expensive one from
Yes.
CNC Tile. We got it in 2000. And they sold us a defective carpet. And it had kind of little subtle issues with it. So they brought the manufacturer rep there. They looked at it. They ended up giving us the carpet. And of course, we never wear shoes on carpet. We take them off, because you're in bathrooms and there's urine everywhere. I mean, you know how these bathrooms are and everything. So I said, take the shoes off. I made that a policy. And it's still, it needs to be taken out, the carpet, but it is 21 years old. I'm not lying there at all. So there are things that need to be fixed on it. It needs to be painted, the baseboards, the wood trim. I mean, it's coming off. They put some of that glossy wood trim stuff.
I notice again that there is a considerable jump. Is this again, but we haven't
Yes, sir.
reviewed his property in years, and we're catching up. Because you had it on previously for just the 121, something like 120. And now you pushed it up to 170, then took it back down to.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the appraiser, she took it down 5,000. I thought there was a bill for 5,000 a year or something. That's what-
Yeah, there he is.
I think that's where she took it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So that's where that went down there.
Prosecutor. I am inclined to sustain the assessor's current value to 165. Do I have 165,885? Do I have support for that?
You do.
I will move that, and I have a second for that from Ruth. We'll vote as the roll is called to sustain at the current assessed value of $165,885 on this one.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes,
Mr. Van Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
this is the fair market value. Yeah, unless you are the commercial person too.
No.
You don't hang that different. I mean, guys.
Okay, I thought they were looking like that. And
Real subdivision.
thank Mr. Wright just disappeared with the client there, the tax board.
does this go with?
Oh, another Mr. Wright. Oh, I thought she was talking about the assessor.
that-
Yeah, we gave two separate ones. We gave, because we bought like 9 parcels on one thing and then the other remaining.
It wasn't clear.
Yeah. We tried to do it 2 separate times, but
This for two separate.
this is the 2 million trio, the purchase price. This goes with this.
And it goes with all of these or?
It goes with, there's 5, it goes with 4 of the 5.
Okay. Do you want to turn this into them and let them know?
Yeah, there's one parcel that was a separate transaction. We thought it'd be easier.
We already have that sent in and we'll keep that with. But you'll need to let them know which one.
This is still the first. We're in order for the agenda.
Yes.
right? Okay.
The information that was got attached goes for the 5 and I gave it to him. He will give you what once it goes.
All right, thank you. I am going to follow the information she just gave me, which is that I assume these are in the order in which that they appear on the agenda in the order she has referenced. That would be protest number 1338, 1339, 1341, and 1342. That would be 4 items. Before us, the board today, owned by BC Land Holding Company LLC. And well, I know there's a 5th, but he said he wanted to deal with 4, I thought first. Wasn't that?
We can do whatever you want.
Why
There's,
don't you come join us, identify yourselves, and we'll go from there in more formal manner.
so I'm Brett White. We work for the same bosses. He's on a different side of the spectrum here. He does all the land. And he's actually one of the owners of the property today.
All right, just give us your name so we have it.
Yes, Brian Beam.
Brian
Beam.
Beam, okay, so I'm trying to get it on the tape, so I can do it. All
So,
right. Brett, you want to explain, I heard something about 4 of them, and all I'm trying to do as chair right now is that there's properties that should be considered as an economic unit lumped together, then we'll do it that way, because it usually makes more sense for your presentation.
I'll tell you how it all works, and then you guys can decide how you want to do it. But
That's great.
in April of 2020, they purchased 9 total parcels. No, different, in the same area, the Battle Creek area, same development, but there was some commercial, some future residential, different types of properties. But in that closing, there was actually 2 different ownership groups. So I think 8 of them were owned by REIP. And then the 1 parcel was owned by 145th. Yeah, so do they have the same ownership group? It was just different
They
entities?
effectively did. So scattered site, part of the original Battle Creek PUD, which was 2 full sections of land. And that began in 1999. REIP stands for Real Estate Investment Partners, I believe. The 2 original partners of that have both passed away. It had descended to its heirs. I'd say if there's such a thing as easy land development, the easier were all developed over the course of the next 2 decades. So the remaining pieces owned by REIP, and then this other entity that there was some transaction in the past decade where it was purchased back. A piece of land was purchased back under a different entity name. That was a multiple parcel sale where the remaining heirs, of which there were 21, they, in the drop down LLCs of the ownership, they decided that they wanted to effectively shift that 30-year marketing window to someone else.
So that's the only reason we had separated. We gave you a purchase and sale agreement for 1 parcel, and then we gave you a purchase and sale agreement for the balance of parcels. So how you want to look at it, it's up to you guys, but
Is
there's,
this all in that BC Land Holding LLC?
correct.
And that would take us actually through 5 of our protests.
Yes, the other ones were, they were continued use of agriculture failing for future residential down the road.
Yeah, are you still trying to, on my protest agenda, this 5th one that BC Land Holding has, is that what you were just referencing? Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was bought as a separate parcel was bought for 100, or allocation is 196. Let me tell you what number that is.
I just can hear the clerk over there murmuring under her
Yeah.
breath. She's gonna make us vote on these separately. So if there's any way
Yeah.
you want to do your presentation, that's one thing, but I know for her legal purposes, we're gonna have to go through them one by one.
Well, that's fine. Let me, and we also gave you a Excel spreadsheet with
I have-
tax parcel.
Do I have it?
the
Is it-
proof.
Oh, you still have that one, she's saying, I believe, is that it, or is it on here?
I hope.
We're gonna try to make this as easy as, I mean, it was two separate purchases, but one total. purchase.
Okay, she's showing me this was what she included in the packet, and she says the bottom line on here I should ask you about is 2,500,000.
So you got this, yeah. So let me just give you the 10,000 foot, 6 points on this deal. So these parcels have all been on the market for 20 plus years. Actively marketed, on the market. People have bit and chewed and looked at them at different points in time.
Where are we talking in Tulsa County?
145th and 61st. So Broken Arrow, Battle Creek around the golf course there.
I'm not a Broken Arrow person, I'm a kind of downtown person.
So yeah, if you went
Well, I know
downtown,
there's a country club out there, I think called that.
if you went out from downtown and got on the Broken Arrow,
Yeah.
went out to Big Sporting Goods, it'd be north of that.
Yeah, okay.
So all these parcels have been on the market. The purchase price for all parcels, the ones that were the 5 that we did not, we had 9, so we got 4 of them to keep the ag that was on the use before. So we've got 5 of them here today, but all parcels were bought for $2,500,000 total.
That was 5 parcels.
All 9 parcels,
10.
10 total. Yeah, there was a couple of small.
This is
Do you have this one
larger
too,
print.
Charles? Piece of paper I don't. Maybe you don't have that one? Okay. Yeah,
She gave you a big one.
Thanks. Yeah.
So all 10 parcels were purchased at the same time in 2 different transactions for a total of $2,500,000. The lender for this deal was RCB Bank. They made a loan to Brian and his partner of $2,500,000, a full loan. But what they required as terms of the loan was to pay down $500,000 this year. So they'll have borrowed, when they pay their $500,000 down, they'll borrow $2 million on the $2.5 million purchase price. Parcels 4,500, if you go to the Excel spreadsheet, and 44,902, I just give the last 5 digits of the account number on the far left. Those are also encumbered with deed restrictions. There's a Walgreens right there. So Walgreens basically has restrictions on future for these 2 parcels. And one of them is you cannot have a convenience store. So we cannot sell the Come and Go, Quick Trip, because Walgreens does such a business with candy and food and, convenience items, and Walgreens.
And that's built into the.
Yes.
Yes.
Brian.
Is that supportable at law?
Yes, within 500 feet, it's there. Brian probably will talk about it later, but he has talked to Walgreens about some cost numbers to make that go away. It won't go away for probably a convenience store, but it will go away if he gets somebody that he thinks he can sell the land to, and there may be a price to pay to Walgreens. So this, I think the big picture thing here is you have to look at who had the land and then who has the land now. The person that had the land for 20 plus years was in the process of selling land. Basically, they switched out, he came in. He's going to take on the task of doing the individualizing of all these parcels. It's going to take him time, money, effort. Hopefully this will bear fruit for him, that these parcels, he can find people to buy them. He can eventually develop a single family residential, sell out to somebody on one of the parcels, but it's going to take time and money. So we hope it bears out fruit for him and for the county long term.
Sure.
But we have just we've come into the position that we're just paying $2.5 million to take over the position of what the other guy was doing before.
And right now, we're just talking land. Is that
We're
right?
just talking like there was no improvements on any of it. raw land. So in conclusion, we're trying to find out what the value was at 1/1 of 2021, not what it will be speculative, future use, the potential for the land. We just want to get it. We have a sale that happened in April of 2020. Your date is 1/1 of 2021. We got willing buyers, willing sellers, very knowledgeable people in real estate that have been in the real estate business for decades, both knew what they were doing, and they stepped up to the plate and paid $2.5 million.
And that's what's in yellow. So.
Yes, that's what's in yellow, and we also, in that package, we gave you the settlement statement, which shows what we paid. We gave you the purchase and sale agreement. We gave you the modification agreement that one time the price changed a little bit. It was minuscule. And then we also gave you, on one of the settlement statements, you can see the loan.
We're gonna hear the assessor's view of all those things, obviously, and we'll try and make a judgment. But in terms of this spreadsheet that's in front of me right now, is there anything else that I need to notice so I can get a sense of what I've got to weigh against whatever the assessor is going to add in additional?
I think the big thing you need, the way we came to a value for the sales price in the highlighted column, 812.
Yeah.
The 2.5 million. We looked at what the value would be in the future, what we thought, and we proportioned it back to these numbers right here, and that's what we put on our applications, and that's what we're carrying on our books.
Okay. This is what you have on your books
Yes.
right now, in other words.
Hard dollars in, you're in 2,500,000.
2.5 million total.
The only thing that was curious to me, I'm just looking at, making sure I understand how you, in that column, ever so often I get blanks. Is there some reason? Is there a way you lump together some of these?
They were
parcels?
detention areas like the 0.1 acres,
Okay.
retention or detention.
Right, there are 3 parcels that are of nominal assessor value, attributed $200 assessor value in 2020, previous before sale, and still attributed that same $200 value. So on the books, I carry it at negligible.
Sure.
And I know we're here about value, but I think big picture, the previous taxpayer was paying $10,000 annually for all of these parcels. And we're requesting to pay $25,009 for the 2021 taxes based on our purchase price.
Okay. He was totally ag, is that it? Is that-
Some of the parcels were ag, like on the north of this. We're continuing to bail it. One of the parcels that the assessor did not give us ag use for. They said they would look at it next year because it has some trees and shrubs on it. So we had it brush hogged recently, and we were planning to
Whoa, trees.
well, they were just
Sapling.
sad.
These weren't trees. This was a
70-year-old oaks.
No. We're talking scrub, Bradford, noxious
It
trees.
had been bailed
The current owner, it had been baled before, and I inquired about getting a hay baler on it
Yeah.
once I purchased the property, and was told, no, sir, you need a fair bit of, someone had neglected it for a couple of years because they were getting their exemption in native form. We made requests for that same native form, and the response, I believe, was, no, you need to bail it. So we're making those efforts to do so.
Yeah.
And we have supplied the assessor with the invoice that we did get a brush on.
Anything else that we should note then? I just asked the questions that I see because I'm
No, that's-
visualizing.
I make one comment in addition.
Charles or Ruth, what about you? There are other columns here that you think we need to at least know what the numbers are before we
Yeah,
do.
the sales price per acre. That exchange hands between willing buyer and willing seller. Is that, then this column gets reallocated as to, the one with the yellow, the sale price fair market. That gets revalued in some fashion.
That,
I mean, they both come to 2,500,000,
Yeah,
but you're
correct.
reallocating costs.
so this was to show how we arrive at a book value.
Okay,
One could have straight lined the application of a 2.5 million across a multiple parcel sale and looked at it as if every acre were the same. Because this is a scattered site property, and you'll see that some have differing, there's different characteristics of each parcel. That we really took, as Britt described, what we expected to be its eventual ultimate value and apportioned that and came across with the column highlighted in yellow. The sales price per acre is informative, but not, maybe not very,
those are internal numbers.
effective. How we arrive at book value.
Charles is our CBA is the reason. Auditor, he gets to ask those.
So I'm very-
questions for us.
Myopic
And
sometimes.
my CPA said that you need to look at it multiple different ways and be able to have it defensible to the service. This past his.
Well, on the general ledger, you had to allocate the purchase price. That has nothing to do with taxes or whatever.
Ruth, how about you, just looking at this and hearing what they've said so far, there are other questions you're thinking about or numbers that don't make sense, as often is true with me.
This is showing the sale price, 2,500,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the assessor has put it at 15 million.
They originally started at that, and then they come back down.
So that was the point I was going to bring up. We're looking at numbers. The 2020 assessor value was approximately 725,000, of which they paid about 10,500 in taxes in 2020.
Columns to the left.
Columns, account number,
Okay.
acreage, and then the next two columns.
That's 2020.
That's 2020. That was from our seller. That's what they had been paying tax based upon. When we received the notice of 2021 taxes, so go to the far right of your
That's
spreadsheet, it came back at 15.5 million, which is a multiple in tax, where that to have stood, of 21.5 times and in 1 year, and it's a multiple of, what is that, 6 times what we actually paid for. Then the altered taxes, which we protested, I believe, have come down to, I have these columns numbered for you, but the altered cash value is a little over 6, I think 6.1, creating a tax value today of about 89,000. And if that's about an 8.5 multiple of 2020 taxes, and about 3.5 times what our appeal is, which is to pay.
So when you went before the appeal, initially they had the 15 plus on there. You had the appeal, they brought it down to the 6.
6,122,000.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we assume that's based on what they think it's going to be worth down the road. After
But right now, your tax bill is what? That's what-
$89,000.
Okay, that's the right column that I was assuming.
And the reason the reason we're,
Where's the 89?
It's actually 88,851, but it's
Yeah.
that next column.
and the reason we're saying 25,000 is we are basing on our sales price. The previous taxpayer had some low basis in it, so his taxable value is very low. So we're not asking for that.
You've been here enough to know that all we legally finally talk about is fair market value. You have to worry about how some of the taxing agency then allocates your taxes, but we speak. And you're asking us to, as I understand it, you believe the fair market value should be this 2,500,000.
For all parcels.
Anything else you guys want to point out before I ask the assessor staff their opinions?
Not on the spreadsheet. If we're talking individual parcels, and we have the opportunity to do that, then
You will certainly have the opportunity to do it. We'll see what they want to do first. And then we'll deal with that.
yes, sir.
Please, the assessor staff who's dealing with this, come forward.
I'm Tim Grass with Tulsa County Assessor's Office. How you guys doing? Good. Finally get to meet you guys in person. Let's see. I got a couple of workups here just to show you guys where I arrived. Sorry, guys, got one. Hope you guys are shared. Okay. First off, there's no argument, no problem with the fact that the property did sell. It sold for $2.5 million over 2 deeds. Although I counted 11 parcels as opposed to 9, and I think that might be because a couple of them are like right of ways. Is that right? Yeah, so
I stand corrected that it's.
yeah. And I just wanted to make that aware because I say 11 a couple of times in here. So anyhow, I mean, the parcels, they're basically in 2 different areas. They're at 51st and 145th. If you're looking at your, that front page of that, the left picture shows 3 of the parcels and the right picture shows 2 of the parcels. The right picture, let's see. And so basically there are 5 parcels of vacant land spread from 51st to 61st between 145th and 161st. If you're speaking BA, that's, I think it's Omaha to Albany and Aspen to Elm. Anyway, so they got about 56 acres total. They purchased it for $2.5 million. They were marketed as an economic unit, meaning just altogether, get rid of it altogether. The sellers didn't want to parcel it out, from what I understand. And that comes from the appraisal. They did get an appraisal on it. And you see that little black box, it's kind of outlined, or that box is outlined in black there. That's just an excerpt from the appraisals talking about who the broker was and how they were supposed to be marketing it to a single buyer. So they're basically marketing it to a single buyer and selling it as a 56 acre chunk, basically. So all 11 parcels, the county value at the time of the sale was $8 million and roughly a little change, average of about $1 a square foot.
Was that the old ag value?
That's the overall value of all 11 parcels when they bought it. So when they bought it for $2.5 million. We had it at about $8 million. After the sale, I set the value to about $15.5 million. It's about $1.94 a square foot. And how we did that is I kind of looked at them broken up by what they are, shapes, where they are, and stuff like that. And basically went with about a $2, a $4, and a $6 per square foot, depending on the parcel. So as we sit here today, only 5 parcels are appealed here. The informal decision reduced from these 5 parcels from 10.9 million to 6.1. That's a 40% decrease up from that 10.9. They provided an appraisal with dated last April value, and these 5 parcels together on that appraisal equals $6.61 million. And the appraisal values were used at the informal, except for one account, which would have had to have been increased. So basically, the appraisal for these 5 came up to 6.6 million. I put it at 6.1 because I didn't want to go add $500,000 to them while they're trying to get a reduction. I'm not trying to give them an increase. It's adding insult to injury, I believe. So the next page basically is just a breakdown of our numbers for each parcel and a breakdown from the appraisal. So the top section there, you'll see the little yellow boxes. That is the informal decision and the price per square foot for each parcel. And if you look at this, you're going to see different things. I tried to put the formal in the appeal number on there because if you see on the appraisal breakdown below, it says tract A1, tract A2, tract B, all that. I was trying to get those all lined up. So wherever you're looking at, you can see tract A1 or the formal number or the account number, so we can keep them all straight. So we're basically looking at 5 different parcels there. They range 374, 452, 453, 376, $2, and $1.04. You can take those numbers and you can match them up against that appraisal breakdown down there and the calculation of value that's on the bottom there as well. You can see that these are numbers that I took from the appraisal. I mean, I wholeheartedly admit that it was a rough valuation to do whenever the sale came through. I mean, you've got 11 parcels of land. Some of them, like we said, still had ag value, so we stayed on ag, or some of them were pieces of like a road, like a little strip of road that just never got split out for the state, or a pond or something like that. Those are things that we put at like a reserve value, $200 retention stuff like that, just a site value. So basically, all of those removed, and these 5 remaining, that shows the breakdown. And I've circled on that appraisal breakdown there. It says as is market values. Basically, this appraisal is saying that an as is market value is today. That's as they sit. So you can kind of see that comparison there if you want those numbers. Turn to
That is
page.
still based, all of this is based on the appraisal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, that appraisal is one they had done, is that what you're saying?
Yes, they had it. They had it done for the purpose of purchasing, if I'm correct. And basically, they said this is an as-is appraisal for all this property, and they came up to that number. 661
Yeah.
is the number that those 5 came up to.
Got it.
So I looked through it, and to be truthful, when we get an appraisal, we comb through it, and we try to find if there's something that looks awry or that just doesn't look good or what have you. This appraisal looked pretty good. There are a few comps in there that he used that were further south Broken Arrow than kind of like that, where Tulsa meets Broken Arrow from the west to the east, except for but I didn't want to kick any of his stuff out just because he's included it. I'd like you guys to see it if that's because I included mine as well. So on these sales comps, this is a comprehensive of all of mine and all of the ones from the appraisal. The appraisal are the ones in blue. The green are the ones that I found, and the orange are ones where we overlapped. So we both found it. And this information, you can see there's a little yellow area there. Those are that's the median. It's 325 and 355. That's the exact center of price per square foot. So it's about 340. Average of these is 543. And then, I'm showing the size of the median and the average of the size. So the median size is 4.87 acres, and the average is about 10.92 acres. So just for reference. What I did do is I did eliminate some of these comps to kind of try to show a more condensed set. And so what I did is I eliminated the largest comp, and it was, where's the biggest number here? It was 91 acres. I removed the unfound sale. If you look at that very top one on the left side, the parcel number, I said I couldn't locate the sale. I looked at that 169 block at 31st, and the resource I was looking at kept sending me to 61st Street, so I couldn't find it exactly, which the 61st Street one is on. Anyhow, I removed that one, and I removed the 6 smallest. They were like I think they were less than 2 acres. So I just kind of tried to pinpoint it a little bit, and that creates a median of 318 and an average of 392. So right here within all these comps, you're basically looking at about a $3 to $4 range on it. And I'm not saying range, a $3 to $4 range for median or average. So, and the range is wide. I mean, the range goes as far down as 29 cents a square foot, which these parcels straight, if you're talking straight sale price to all square footage, regardless of, all 11 parcels, that's about 31. It's sold for 31 cents a square foot, roughly. And so after that, I did look at some listing comps just to see what is selling, or if there is anything selling or what have you. And instead of just showing you a big list of those, I just kind of summed up the research. I found 13 listings within about a 2-mile radius. The range was anywhere from about $1.91 to $16 a square foot. The median was 385. The average was 631. A lot of these are going to be smaller parcels, a couple of acres maybe, or something like that. But trying to see a pattern here, and I keep seeing $3 to $4 pattern. That being said, the next page, that's all of that information is going to just apply across the entire, all 5 parcels. I mean, we're not going to go over the sale comps each time. So those are there for you also. if I can run through these parcels and then we'll let these gentlemen take over if that pleases the board. And I can just tell you a little bit about what I see on these parcels. Some of this stuff was reported in the appraisal. Some of this stuff they've already told you. I'm just putting it on here. Again, I used a formal number, an account number, and the tract number from the appraisal on each of these. And just to show you a little bit, so this first one that we're looking at here, the one on the top in the red, that's 41st, or that's 51st and 145th. It's about 11 acres, and it's valued at 375. It's zoned ACG. I'm not super familiar with that zoning. These gentlemen might be able to go a little bit more. I was trying to talk to Broken Arrow on it, and they were, but as I understand it, I think it's like an agricultural / commercial general. But I didn't get confirmation on that. So anyhow, they're totally correct about the deed. The deed restricts many retail uses that will compete with the Walgreens across the street. But it does contain a hard corner, and hard corners can range in sale price from $15 to $35 a square foot, depending on where you're at. They can go much higher than that. Some of them can be lower. So, but that's a decent range. If I just, if I threw a dartboard, I could probably hit one of those, something in there, or threw a dart. And I put a speculation on these, and that's all it is. It's a speculation. I don't intend to say this is exactly what's going to be built here, or what have you. But on a highest and best, you kind of have to think about that a little bit. But the appraisal basically said that they thought that it could become commercial use and possibly residential duplexes. I would think that the commercial use would be on the corner or somewhere in the front. It does contain those deed restrictions, so they're not going to be able to go get the highest amount of values like they would get from Quick Trip or CVS, who they definitely can't sell to, because Walgreens won't allow that. But banks are also a big buyer of corners, things like that. So that's where we sit with that one. That one's at 1.77 million. Going down to the next property, it is that yellow one in the bottom right corner. And it's basically that is, it's almost 5 acres. It's valued at $453 a square foot. It's the highest valued of all of them. And really that's, that area right there is borderline St. John Broken Arrow Hospital. That blue and yellow lines on the far, I guess, east end of that are the dividing lines between the neighborhood and just all this area that's St. John Broken Arrow at 61st and out. The surrounding parcels are valued at about at 658 to 746. And they are selling some of those over there. They've been building like some medical offices and stuff like that, stuff that would be accessories to the hospital area. On this one here, we're at 960,000 on it. In the appraisal, they did mention that there was an offer of 850,000, which is 397 a square foot, and it had to be refused. The seller had to refuse that offer because he was already in contract with these gentlemen to purchase. So my thought is that they might want to get his phone number, and make some money back there. So that's where we sit on this. And again, these are all just here to let you know a little bit about the properties. On the third one down, we've got about 9 acres valued at 376. That's the light blue one on the left. And it wraps around that Walgreens and Sonic there that's on the corner. It's deed restricted as well. So they will have some issues. Before I read the appraisal, I thought that it'd be good for frontage and mini storage in the back. And I thought I saw something in there that might have kind of confirmed that. But I did say that speculative use would be non-restricted retail, meaning restricted retail, they couldn't do, Quick Trip and that kind of thing. So, or an office or possibly like a mini storage within that interior area. So again, speculative. Last page there. Tract A1. This is the tract that is in green there at the bottom left, and it's the one that sold independently of the others, and it was owned by the Battle Creek Church, I believe it was, or it was used. It's a remnant of their development basically. Let's see, it's adjacent to the Battle Creek Golf Course, Battle Creek Church, and the Heights at Battle Creek neighborhood. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Just big square piece of, or big, long rectangular piece of land. The thing with this piece of land is that it's deeper than it is wide. So, you're going to have more value up front than you are back, or you're going to have to build or chop it up in a certain way. So I think it goes to one of the lower values. Actually, we have it valued at $2 a square foot. So, and last but not least, that big one, the big blue one on the right that has an odd shape to it. It's at $1.04 a square foot. It's about 20 acres. It's adjacent to the St. John Hospital, Battle Creek Golf Course, Battle Creek Apartments. It is access ready to the neighborhoods. So at the very top on the north side, I think they have access, and I think they might have. I know they have one, maybe two accesses, basically where they stub out the street and it's ready to be attached to. We kind of looked at that, and speculatively, I think that the best thing for here would probably be residential developments on the golf course. Or they might, you could always expand the apartments or medical from, expand the apartments from the west or the medical from the east. So that's all I have on all those. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that's a lot to take in. Give these gentlemen a chance to speak, or you guys can ask me any questions you want.
Well, before we go back to you guys, is there any questions of Tim that the board has from his presentation? Since
Sure there are, but I'm not sure what they are.
Okay, let me, the only thing I was still trying to do apples and apples. The ones here that they had gone for 2.5 is the same 5 parcels that you are showing us for the 6.
Now, the
610.
2.5 is all 11, is everything. And then so breaking that down to the 5,
Yeah,
we're sitting at 6.1 for the county assessment, and the appraisal on those 5 is 6.6.
no, I'm trying
Is that
to,
what you're?
maybe I have to ask them, but
Sure.
I'm trying to understand what they're asking for those 5.
Oh, for those 5, I'm not sure.
Okay, then we'll get them to answer that. But any of that.
Well,
was
I'm
my
just
big
trying to
question.
understand, the land was bought for less than what it appraised for.
Well, I'll get into that, but the purpose of the appraisal was for RCB Bank to look out into the future and tell that appraiser, if he individualized these parcels at each one of these, what, if everything works at the end of the rainbow, what does he get for this land? And that's the total. That was the purpose of the appraisal. We didn't get $7 million loan, we got $2 million.
Who got the appraisal? You got
We
it?
did, and it's a courtesy, we shared it with them for the future. This is what we think will happen in the future. Just make sure you've got the right surveys, you've got the right parcel numbers. We did it as a courtesy.
The appraisal was ordered through the bank, Varsity Bank, which was our lender. And their directive to the appraisal was it comes across a little confusing. I can see how it would be confusing to the county, to the assessor. Rather than having 11 or 9, if you don't count some of the right-of-way pieces, different appraisals that are just separate but repeat a lot of the same things about the areas, because it's a scattered site. The directive was, as Britt just described, look at every individual parcel as if a developer, which is, I'm a developer, could extract that eventual value through a marketing period and having some predicates, certain things that an appraiser doesn't know exist or does know to exist, that I can go through on each individualized parcel as we get to it. That end of the rainbow number is what has to be extracted. I'll let you talk about it, but that was why the appraisal was ordered, so that the bank could to confirm that they were going to have sufficient collateral and that we were going to be making a wise purchase of a multiple parcel transaction that wasn't immediately going to go into service. These parcels are going to go on my books. I'm going to pay debt service on them. Not a single one of them is in service today as that's producing income or even in development. There's not a bulldozer or a shovel that has been out there yet, and there won't be for this calendar year at least.
So let me comment first what you said. That is not a true statement that it was not marketed. At Simmons Homes, it's been marketed to me multiple times for the residential land. So what you said is absolutely not true. I'm under oath. I'm telling you right now, it was not all or nothing. Okay. I could have bought the back parcels. My boss has looked at the back, knows the development costs, the amount of drainage, and we passed on this. And so have multiple home builders in the area and multiple commercial developers. That's number one. Purpose of the appraisal, as we said, it was to look out into the future to come up with a value of an individualized each one of these parcels. The marketing time in the appraisal, what he does not tell you, was greater than 1 year. This appraiser, when he does this assignment, he goes, hey, it's going to take at least a year for any of this stuff to even start to happen. On page 39, if you look at the appraisal, he says, owner occupied, build to suit for speculative development. He says, eventual single family. He says, eventual commercial development. He says, eventual higher density. This appraisal was based on what it will be at a point in the future, which none of us know. Okay. The property tax in the appraisal too said, which I'm surprised the tax assessor, you didn't bring this up, but he says the subject property is currently under contract for a sale price of $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. The county assessor has a practice of taking the valuation of a property to the purchase price in the year following the acquisition. Well, that didn't happen when they went from 2.5 million to 50. So we gave this appraisal to him to help him for a courtesy, not knowing that he was going to take, and he said speculative 10 times. We're looking at what the value was on that time, not what the speculative value is going down the road. Okay. So Brian, he's probably got a couple things also, but I just want to get that out there that these have not been, hey, you can buy all, or this is not a bulk sale that you have to do. Because I've been privy to looking at these parcels, some of these parcels at different times.
As I understand that, what you're saying is the appraisal does not speak to what the property was worth as of 2020, December 31. Is that correct?
Yeah,
The appraisal is about something that may happen in the future.
that's what the
They
lender
gave
wants.
us the appraisal that you got before, you got it in 2020.
Yes.
But
It was for the bank's purpose to make sure they could lend us $2.5 million now, which is now $2 million.
But the bank must have thought it had some meaning now, right? Or it wouldn't have,
Well, I
the
don't think so.
thing.
Not if they wouldn't have, they only lent us $2.5 million and they're asking us to pay down $500,000 to take it to $2 million.
Okay.
But I think they're thinking years, and I'll let Brian talk
No,
about that.
I'm gonna let him talk to that issue, but I just wanted to try and understand what we are always trying to set is what the property is worth as of December 31, 2020 on this.
Yes.
Okay, please, go ahead.
So I'll go back a little bit in history. Again, the original developers were two gentlemen, Don Newman and Irv Frank. And they are both of blessed memory now. It has passed to their heirs. Their heirs were not developers, so to speak. Jeff Scott who has, if you're a downtown guy, you've probably seen Jeff has done projects in downtown. He's a broker, and he has been actively marketing these pieces individually for a period of time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have received the offer on the individual tract, and I forget what the account number is, the yellow one.
Yeah.
The directive to him from the heirs had been, we are not developers. We are not having success extracting the value they're not, they were effectively, they're shifting over the holding period. And the speculation, to me, is a development, to me and Mr. Charney, which make up Battle Creek Land Holding Company, which I think feel like we aptly named our LLC in that it's not a development company, it's not even an investment company. This is a holding company to purchase property. They did give the directive to Mr. Scott to negotiate with us for a multiple parcel sale. So that I do want to hear him. The directive to him had been for years, individual. And then when they said, we are not having success doing that, we're ready to dispose of all tracks, and we're getting down to the CADs. You see, each of these pieces are irregularly shaped. They came to us and said, you're going to have to take this all warts, all issues, of which there are many, and we can go through them on an individual track basis. We did that. We had the property, the seller had the property surveyed. But I didn't spend a year-long due diligence window getting what I would have done had I bought an individual tract.
Let me ask,
Yes, sir.
because he was making a point about the assessor's use of the thing. Was this decision by the estate people and therefore Scott's designation, sell all 11, one package? When was that given to him as a challenge? That is, don't sell them individually anymore. All 11 or nothing.
I don't know the exact date, other than it was.
Well, you said
We were
that you had the chance to buy it all. Was that?
We've had chances to buy pieces.
Pieces of it,
or
not all, not
No.
this package, right?
We've had chances to buy we're a home builder. We've had chances to buy the residential on the north end.
Yeah, I know it wasn't brought directly.
But my point is, you made a tremendous charge against the staff here, and that was unfair.
Well, he said that it wasn't.
No, he was talking about 11, or he was talking about 5 of 11, and all I'm saying is, he's telling me now that the guy that he bought it through Scott said 11 or nothing, right? And that was this last year. It's when you did the deal, right?
Right, and that's why I pointed and said, I do want to be fair to the staff,
Just
that the property could have been bought in its whole, or I'm sure someone brings an offer, they could have been bought at any point in time. What Britt has said is, it has been openly marketed, there have been signs on this property.
okay.
The
Now,
task.
I gotta ask you the
Yes.
legal question, okay? Was it put up as 11 sold or been all 11 parcels one time this last year to any public real estate offering?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's all it's
Yes.
required. I'm not saying you have to do more than that, but that became a contentious
Sure.
point. And I wanted to make sure.
I can say that without fear of
Got it on
contradiction,
the record.
that
That's all.
Mr. Scott was
Sorry
asked to take it out.
stop you.
Yes, sir.
You were doing, it was very informative what you were saying. I just wanted to clear up that one issue because it
Yes,
could
sir.
be in our minute and
Yes,
district court says that.
I think Britt said it correctly earlier. We have a very intelligent seller and an intelligent buyer
Oh,
doing an arm's length transaction.
that's good. I didn't have a question about that.
And I don't know, out of the top 10 guys, I don't know who hasn't looked at it, either all or parts of it in the last few years.
I'm
And
not-
us being one and me personally.
I understand. I just wanted to get it on the record that all 11, at least in a formal sense, through a real estate broker, had come up this last year, and that was when you purchased it.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And I'll say it was 2,750,000 was the asking price originally,
Okay.
and they got it at 2,500,000.
Yeah, I think you said that earlier. Yeah. Okay, now, go ahead.
That was effectively it, that once they made a decision to sell it as a multiple parcel property, the ability to extract its values, that's speculative, speculation.
No,
That's
I
the
understand
future.
the point you're making about the appraisal. I wasn't questioning that.
Sure.
Go.
No, that's,
And
that's,
if I said something, if I said something wrong, I'm sorry, but I thought he came across saying it had not been out to the market. And I knew
Well,
it
that's
to
the
be a fact.
reason I asked my question just now. I wanted to get it on the record that it was offered through a public, in some way was made public as a real estate deal. All right, now, I didn't mean to cut you off if I.
No, you're-
Was that?
really, you're fine.
Okay.
You've gone through all of your
Yeah,
points.
yeah, I
Okay.
just had those.
Happy to talk about, you indicated maybe the assessor would want you, or staff would want you to look at these individually.
Well, that was the only question since he did look at those 5 and picked them up and went through them in some detail. Do you want to address any or all of those 5? Either of you.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to just, these are the same order that they have.
Sure.
What I've got is, and I've got them labeled by the parcel. API,
Yes.
Talk, well,
Okay.
you know the land a lot better than I do.
So the parcel in red, which it's an account 4902. It is encumbered in the deed, it is deed restricted by a Walgreens within 500 feet of the property boundary of Walgreens. So it also would attract, it would also restrict the blue parcel 45,000. It is, I think they were zealous when they struck the deal with Walgreens to extract, as he points out, a hard corner value at the time and gave away the farm, so to speak.
I can
Kind of
see that.
took their nose off, spite their face type of thing. So no convenience store, no additional drugstore could go there under the present circumstance. We saw this in the title work when we closed, and we said we were willing to accept all of the physical works of the properties. We had gone into, in good faith, this $2.5 million agreement with that. We didn't understand the full extent of this restriction until we saw the title work. So we struck an agreement with the seller that post-closing, they would have a period of time, 6 months, to try to negotiate directly with Walgreens, which is a big, again, trying to get to the closing table and not dealing with Walgreens, they're a big group.
Sure.
That conversation from our seller resulted in Come and Go and Casey's had both put this property under contract. They had both taken it to a site plan in years past, the red one, with our seller. Both of those deals had been dropped by the real estate committee because of this deed restriction.
I see.
At the time, this was several years ago, Casey's, Walgreens wanted a fee to not release their deed restriction in whole, but just make the one deal work. So our seller went back to Walgreens and they said, we would consider that for $200,000. So they're pretty punitive measure, pretty punitive costs associated with getting that. Other potential hard corner users that, again, aren't buying, how many acres is it? Almost 11 acres. You're talking about an 1.5 acre to 2 acre user, and there are not many financial institution branch banks are not being built at great pace anymore. That's banking has changed and such. You can see a drainage way along the northern boundary. There are 2 ponds on the northern end of it. It does impede and impair the property. I have not yet done a wetland and waterway delineation study and submitted it to the U.S. Corps of Engineers for a determination to know how much they consider jurisdictional and therefore not developable, but it will be a portion of the property. So that property in red has those things against it, as well as there is water, gas, electric to the site. Sanitary sewer is not on that site. It is across the street at the Walgreens tract. So to bring sanitary sewer to it would require a road bore underneath 51st Street of, I'm going to say, six-figure cost to do so. It'd be quite easily necessary. So it goes back to the narrative that to get the value that you might see after an individualized marketing window of a year, dealing with a come and go as an example, to get a number for a portion of the tract, you'd have to be willing to subdivide it, which is effectively playing a developer, either doing an infrastructure extension yourself, which is playing developer, or adjusting the price accordingly. And then dealing with Walgreens, which again is playing developer. So none of those things make for this being an easy track. Anything else we want to talk about on the red one or say red one? 44902.
That's fine with me. I understand what you're saying.
That's the
The
other
problem, what you're saying is it's going to take a substantial investment to put it into a developable real estate
Yes, sir.
that I might sell it to or develop it for whatever residential or whatever I want to do. And those are
The
the
county has,
issues you would face as a developer.
yes, sir. The county has the entire almost 11 acres valued at $3.75 a foot, which, looking at a parcel that large, applying a price per foot across a parcel that much size is tough to do. Not many parcels trade in that size at that high of a price per foot, even with the commercial zoning. I think the ACG is a really aged zoning classification. You mentioned being up there. I was as well. I did a little study myself. It goes back to the inception of the PUD, and there hasn't been an upzoning in that property since then. It's still contained in a planned urban development that has. Right. So that's why it was not changed again, waiting on the user to.
Okay, do you want to proceed and do each one of these?
That's a question to you all. Which do you prefer?
Well, you've heard him proceed in that way. I don't want you to be disadvantaged in any way if you think you are.
Sure.
You made a more general presentation initially to the board, and that's the reason I'm just trying to make sure.
We want to stick on and just kind of go north to south. We go to the blue track next, the 45,000.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, sir.
Of the 5 units, the assessor has them on for 6,107,000.
Yes, sir.
And I haven't added it up here, but what is your number that compares to that 6,107 in total?
Can you pull the 5 out that way quickly and tell us?
I can pull out a calculator and add it right quick.
What's obvious is that it's the 2.5 versus the 6, I'm sure. A proportion of.
He wants to know the clerk. We're gonna go with clerk's work.
Sure, I'm happy to do that.
So we did.
Your number comes to
$1,707,525.
million.
$1,707,525.
The 5 as opposed to
6,122,428. $1,707,525.
Now that figure reflects what? What was your question, Chuck?
That is the appeal. Those are the appealed figures that we propose. It's a,
I was just trying to ask that since he only dealt with, they dealt with 11, he only dealt with 5, and I just wanted to get a number of the 2.5 million they're asking for all, saying this particular 5 group would come out at 1 million.
$1,707,525. So call it 1.7 million.
Yeah.
So now they would like to go to,
Track
yeah,
high.
32,995, which is
Okay.
the bottom
So-
bottom yellow.
That would be the yellow piece.
Yellow piece over on
Right hand side.
the.
So,
Yeah.
On the right-hand
This
side,
is
the
the
bottom.
stuff that's closer to the hospital, right?
Correct. So to orient you, the bridge you're seeing is an overpass, that is 61st Street.
Yep.
The six-lane highway is Broken Arrow Expressway
Yep.
running east-west. And then not seen in the picture to its east is the St. John Broken Arrow campus, which is not completely built out. There's remaining tracks for
Is that the one that's running right by the Broken Arrow Expressway? Does that mean you only got frontage on a access road or something or what?
Right. So West Albany Drive is the access point to the property. You'll notice the parcel is irregular in shape, which has an impact on its commercial building. It is deceptive two-dimensionally. You don't quite catch how much elevation change exists from the back of the property to the highway. I spent a significant amount of time in study on that post-closing because to County's point, this has some attributes which make it appealing to try to be developer, put it out to market and extract its value. It is very limited in its sight lines. If you put a building on it, it's got a knoll kind of right in the middle, almost where that little red arrow
Yeah.
is a knoll. That's the top of the hill. There's significant fall from that top of that hill to West Albany Drive. It is a wooded and treed parcel, which takes some clearing and grubbing. If you're driving down the Broken Arrow Expressway, you have a brief sight line potentially of a pole sign, and you might catch the top rooftop units of a building once the building was put there. It's not, it really takes, because of the, well, best way to say it, the overpass is the height. That's what's establishing that.
Sure.
This goes down the hill. Once you get to the Lindsay Greens Apartments, you're now at grade where you could see it from the highway. This piece, again, probably part of why it wasn't developed, it's kind of cut off from
Yeah.
these other things. A couple other things to note on infrastructure. Water line extends on the north side of West Albany Drive. So effectively where the blue line is on the north side. So water would have to come across, fire hydrants that have to come across. Sanitary sewer is on the Greens Apartments. So if you see the apartment buildings, there's a little maintenance building at the bottom right-hand corner of their property. Roughly, that's where the manhole is. You're talking about another street board. That gets to the west side of the property. It's difficult to see. Can I stand up? Can I point to?
Sure.
Okay. My rear end's tired anyway, so I'm sitting there. There is a gas line that comes down here, and then it crosses at a diagonal right here. This is a high pressure gas pipeline, not just a low pressure to feed a subdivision. So it bifurcates this, and the sanitary sewer, I've now studied it because again,
Yeah, sure.
I own it and I didn't do this pre-closing, but I now have. I can't, even with the bore, I can't extend sewer to get this piece to sewer from that direction. I have to come back over here to a manhole that's this way and bring it across. So there's, each of these pieces have their development requirements that make it need a developer to do something with, understand it fully, market it appropriately, or actually physically improve the property. So those are the development challenges on this piece.
What about the big blue one there? Is there?
Are we going in?
We're supposed to stay in a different order.
Oh, okay.
So we're back to by the blue on the left-hand side, the light blue,
Like,
by the south of the Walgreens.
1340.
Yes.
so the light blue tract is again irregular in shape. The hard corner has been urbanized. There's a Walgreens on the hard corner. There is a Sonic to its immediate south. Sewer cuts across at an interesting diagonal. There's a sewer line that comes up to about right here. And then it does a little thing like this, and then it goes up and does one of these. So that's a sewer line over which I can't build a building. There is probably room along a traveled thoroughfare of 145th East Avenue to put another pad site. Again, playing developer, being developer, marketing the property.
And the deed restriction would be the only thing you'd have to.
The deed restriction is 500 feet from the edge of Walgreens. So that would, again, impede this tract or even this, as it measures, it would be, if you could jump the sewer line and there was room to do something there, which is still in study. Both of those things would be impaired by it. I brought the Walgreens restriction to be a little bit more descriptive of what it says. I won't read all of them. There are a number of uses prohibited, but the things that are, what I would say, marketable, that this is really being overly broad, in my opinion. They were any underground storage tanks, car wash, drugstore, any sale of health or beauty aids, and any operation of a business in which prepackaged food or alcoholic beverages shall be sold. So that's like everything.
Medical lab.
If you have food that leaves
It's
your
not
premises,
retail.
yeah, then it's not retail.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to ask Mother May I to Walgreens every single time, which commercial buyers don't have patience. When they get to committee, they kick out all the hard ones. So I'm going to have to try to get a number from Walgreens that it takes a developer again. This piece had been, I don't know if it was under ag exemption or if it just had a very low taxable rate. The number on it in 2020 had been $758 was the assessor taxable value in 2020. Therefore, their taxes were $11. They didn't argue its value. We had made requests for, I don't know if this is what it's heard here or not, but it's maybe worth saying. We had made requests for ag exemption on this. It was denied. This is in a native form. It is rather woolly. There are, over the course of years, there have been people who have dumped some debris, concrete debris and such on it, that it would take a significant amount of money to go clear it, grub it, try to put a hay baler on it. It'd be very, very tough to make that economically feasible. There is additionally surface rock on this property. I, again, I was not able to do an individualized look on each piece with the due diligence that I might be doing if I were, say, buying a piece of land to immediately build subdivision. So I don't have soils borings reports on it yet. I'll be doing that soon. This piece, you can see it. It's on the surface. So there is rock there. I've noticed as properties have developed in the area, I saw ONG trenching just last fall up to 145th right away, and they were producing rock quickly. So that will be a development constraint, which will impair its value or by virtue of just making it harder to cost more to develop. The irregularity of the shape, again, and I think the county pointed this out correctly and gave it its proper due. It has some depth there, the highest and best use. Once you get beyond the travel thoroughfare frontage of 145th, which again is kind of pinched by that sanitary sewer easement that cuts across the diagonal. We're not really sure what you do to extract the value. Again, you can effectively see what pad site users expect. Somewhere in, this is a detention pond, so that's basically the frontage. This is going to be hard to be considered commercial frontage in that you have neighborhood here, regular shapes, it backs up to this golf hole. can't imagine Broken Arrow is going to take terribly kindly to their public golf. It's a city golf course. City runs Battle Creek. They may or not appreciate certain commercial uses. Actually, I would imagine many commercial uses backing up to that now. So it may have to drop down to a less intense use, maybe even residential.
The next one's the green one below that.
Sure.
Square.
1342.
This is the one that was purchased from a different entity. Effectively the same ownership, but it had been, I don't know that I understood the story fully, but it had come back into their ownership. It is rectangular. I think the county pointed out again correctly. You have the frontage depth at which there is value. You can see a rock outcropping here, same thing. This is the depth of the pad site, roughly somewhere in there. And then this is, what I do here is going to either, I say I do, if we develop it eventually, if it gets sold eventually, a user, what they do here is probably a much less intense use that with decreasing intensity and yield, you pay less for the dirt. There's a drainage way from this pond, cuts through the Battle Creek Golf Course, and it cuts across here. You can see it goes to this pond. So that also impedes this frontage. That will be, I'm sure, a protected waterway by the Corps. I can tell by its characteristics, and it's on the National Wetlands Inventory, which is a public database. You can go, it's a guideline, but they are showing those ponds as jurisdictional. It's a riverine or a blue line, probably goes on a blue line. So that will make challenge. Also not shown in the picture is, this is the church at Battle Creek. So this is a massive parking lot, big church. It's a good quality of life thing for the city of Broken Arrow. This is an aging apartment, circa early 2000s vintage. So you have certain uses that are not going to complement those. The city zoning is not going to permit certain uses within proximity to a church. They're, next to an apartment. There's usually conflict in zoning. This isn't a big PUD, but I've talked to the city at length. They're going to require any user, developer to go in and do major amendments to the PUD every time any of these pieces is to be developed.
And last but not least is the blue. And this is the one where we filed for ag and have since had it brushed off.
Correct. So irregular shaped tract. It does have some frontage to the golf course. We think the highest and best use for this property is residential. The city, in conversations with them, they are going to be supportive in that endeavor. I would like to think that maybe next year, if the market conditions permit, in the next couple of years, we could start to get that platted and do something with it. Again, have to play developer to extract its value. It does have a stub street here to West Granger Avenue, and here, and I forget the name of this street. It does have frontage on West Albany, but it's irregular in shape, which doesn't fit well to create, lots. This is a drainage way. It's actually a drainage channel that feeds this pond. So, you're crossing that. There's a waterway that also comes through here. It pinches down. This will be probably not economically viable to connect with a roadway. So to see this develop eventually might only be a little cul-de-sac of something coming off this, and then probably an access point here and an access point here. But the value there is in its future development. I think it's reasonable to say that, we're going to not buy it in a multiple parcel sale. That individual piece would be worth about what we're saying, you put it into service and the county would see its increase in value.
Okay. Tim, do you want to respond to any either particulars about this or the general? What we want?
Not really, he described them pretty well. I think that, we're both of the same understanding on both of them. I appreciate you, confirming for me and everything, so thank you. But other than that, no, just, there's two arguments. There's one for the appraisal and there's one for the sale price. That's the only thing that I'm kind of sitting there.
And so that is the dispute,
I believe
as
so.
I understand, the differences in the framework with which the county's coming and you're coming. And that's,
Yeah, it's
not-
future versus now.
yes, that's right.
And that creates a gap that's tough to get across.
Yeah, and we hope that, I hope it bears fruit and everybody does well with this in the long run, but
In
we're
the long
not
run,
there.
it'll be good for the county.
Yes.
If he's able to develop some.
I'd say in the short run, if you're using relative terms in comparison to the previous seller, I ordered signs last week. I'd love to create this value for the county next year.
Soon.
Soon, but there's a lot to tackle here and it won't happen overnight. And this is editorializing, but I think it's unduly burdening me and my ability to go do that as a developer.
Yeah. Questions, I think I've managed to get mine as we went through their initial presentations, but Charles or Ruth, do you have any specific things or do you want to overall?
Well, overall, the current market value is, for, what's that, 5 units, 6,107,000. The taxpayer is wanting 2,007,000.
No, the taxpayer actually wants 1.7
1.7.
because the
Yeah.
2.5 covers 11.
Oh,
versus
that's
five.
right.
So we're just down to the remaining
So that's a
five.
big old,
That is a big old.
My question is on the ones that were agricultural before the sale, why are they not agricultural? If nothing has been done.
Well, when they change hands, the ag use is void, basically. Kind of like a car warranty or something. It's not going with the new sale, but so if they're gonna do ag on, which they have done a couple, they've already done a couple. They have to fill out the form themselves under their ownership.
Which we did on 2 of them, it was denied.
Yeah, I didn't deny it. We have an ag group that takes care of that. I can't answer anything towards ag.
But the one in the blue,
Dark blue.
Big blue. or the
dark
little
blue and the light blue, right?
But both the blue, the light blue and the dark blue
Yeah.
were requested to
Where
be
ag.
ag. The light blue was requested to be native. The dark blue was
Native.
native, but
It's timberland, there's timberland, crop,
Hay, I
pasture,
guess.
bay, yeah.
pasture. It was pasture.
And we did that in a timely fashion.
In hearing the presentation of the light blue, it seems to me is arguably still not any more value than the ag value from the description of its character and but okay, that's my opinion. The big blue, on the other hand, it seems to me you do have, if not immediate, soon, the potential for development as residential, a huge part of it anyway. That would be, I would assume, a lucrative, would be appealing to a person who is in the business of building residential, developing residences, because it's right next to a very, very active thing.
When we hold property, because the holding period is unknown until time of development, because we do these things
No,
to
no,
be
no,
profitable.
no.
They say, you're right, they
I
are
understand.
stealing. But during that hold period, because the marketing window is whatever the market bears.
That's
I
right.
would love for this to be put into service next year.
Sure, but
To
it's
the point
not.
of our previous gentleman who was up here, it's the opposite of grapes are apple. It was a great line.
Yeah,
But who knows how long that holds out, and the timeframes to go through zoning, go
And
through
we're
planning,
still-
go through design. There's a significant,
yeah,
Distance.
and that's still future. It's
is
still supposed to be December 31,
correct.
2020.
Yes, sir.
Okay, other questions, comments? Ruth, is there something that you think we haven't begun to discuss that we should pay attention to here?
As I understand it, all the properties they were on sale, retail value, or they were advertising 2,750,000. Is that correct?
In
You
there.
negotiated, you got
2 million.
all of it for 2,500,000. And that was, I don't see why it would not be 2,500,000.
Okay, Charles, she is saying this was an arm's length fair market sale. There was a willing seller and a willing buyer that managed to get the value established as somewhat lower than the asking price, but she's comfortable with that 2.5. What about you?
And is that to be allocated?
Well, it is allocated, I think.
Well,
It covers all 11.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, covers all 11. He only talked about 5, but if we voted that, which is what they're asking, then we're covering 11.
Now, the appraisal, as I understand, was for future, what it could be.
Eventual
that's-
and potential and speculative were the words in the appraisal.
Well, we'll give Tim a chance to talk to that in
Yeah.
a minute. Tim, when you looked at their appraisal and you used it as the basis of saying, no, these properties are worth more right now, as I understood it, even though they asked for an appraisal that would be future. Explain yourself a little.
I just found that in that second page, you'll see that I have the excerpt from the appraisal where they showed, and it just says it's an as-is market value. So that's how I interpret it as it is now. So you can take that for what you want.
As you understand the appraisal, when they say as is and they give it to you, they are giving it to you as a certain date.
Yes, but if you read the appraisal, you'll see that the marketing time is greater than a year. It's for speculative, it's for eventual, potential.
And
The
they
appraiser
had
also-
language to that effect in the appraisal that said, we're
Yes.
making this based not on what we think it's worth today, but as a
Yeah, if you-
value that is developing.
if you look at the highest and best use, they go through each one of the parcels and talk about eventual speculative development. And we are privy to something that he's not. We're privy to what the lender asks of the appraiser to do.
And the other thing that did bring back, the only other question I want to be clear about, you do have a current loan from a bank that you use this purchase for this, the $2 million thing.
We have a loan through our city bank at 2.5 million with a $500,000 pay down that
Oh.
is due in next month.
Okay. All right, so that's the way that appraisal finally got used by
Yes.
a bank.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
they said.
And they feel good. I mean, I think they feel good. They know it's gonna, how much term do you have on
They have
it?
confidence in our performance to be able to reach those speculative values that may take the marketing windows of in excess of a year and have certain predicates.
But I would assume that the bank gives you that money. Now they figure if you die or disappear, that they can get 2 million
Correct. They
right
believe,
now.
Plus they have these guys on the hook if they
Oh, I
can't get
understand
to
that.
but you're right. They have me personally guaranteed, and they also feel comfortable that they're properly collateralized so that it's, again, it's
I've
today
never known
value,
a bank
we're on
that does
December
that.
31. They would be able to,
It's messy, but
Materialize.
they better be able to persuade their board of directors, the loan committee. We had to sell that today. We can get that.
That's right.
And that's what the appraiser told us, that the bank's assignment, what will it be
Sure.
down the road?
Okay. I'm willing to, I think, support Ruth's suggestion of accepting the 2.5 as a arm's length sale on this, establishing a fair market value. But Charles, you need to weigh in. You've been looking at those numbers.
So can I get a clarifier?
Yeah.
You say 2.5, are you saying across all properties? Because I think
11,
protest-
yeah, we're not, I mean, he has the a right to present what he did. We could go through and take every parcel because they're separate on the agenda. As I understand it, isn't that correct?
And we have our values, out of the 2,000,005, we have our allocated to these 5 parcels.
Now, I don't know, Tim, would that be if we voted accepting the 2.5 as total? Do you guys have to go and work with them on those individual parcels or?
Yeah, I guess it would just depend on what you all wanted to decide. If you all decided to call it, to basically say you're gonna follow the 2.5, I mean, obviously I would get their number that's
Yeah.
at 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they have numbers you guys want to accept specifically for each parcel,
Do you have those numbers available today?
Yes.
so be it,
I think we
we'll,
better do it
Yeah,
that way. Don't you, Clerk? Yes. I just
Yeah, they're
have-
on our formal application.
That's the bolded numbers in this sale price that totals 2.5 million, it's highlighted. The 5 that are bolded are they coincide, I believe, with
Yes.
what our appeals were. And that's what I said, total to 1,707,525.
Now, I think I understand that we can go through these now and line them up with our agenda, is
Yes.
that correct? Let's take the first one then, it's the BC Land Holding Company, and it's protest item 1338, which one is that?
That would be account number to your far left, 44902 for 10.86 acres. Our request is 523,388.
2338.
Correct.
may I intervene?
I'm gonna ask you to in just a minute to make sure I'm lining it up. What?
Do you know what I'm gonna ask you to do?
No.
Will you round that off, make them 2 zeros at the end for our system? Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go on that one.
Our system rounds it anyway, so.
Sure.
So
So you round-
523, you wanna do 523, 400? Okay, one of you move it, I'll let you guys do this one.
Move that we set the fair market value at 523,400.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. It's been moved and seconded to take protest item 1338 and to make it that the assessment is $523,400 even. We'll have to make that as the vote is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwilling,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
So order of action of the board, the next item on our agenda, therefore, and I've got to get the paperwork in front of me or I'll forget it all. Now, was that one 1338 and we ended up with it at 523 400? Okay. I will try and do. Get it right. Okay.
That's the red one there.
There's other ones I can take with.
True. The information I handed you all.
Yes.
And which one did it exclude?
This was 4 of the 5, so
Right.
it's everything except, you want the number?
Did it on the agenda?
Number on the agenda is. So this excludes 1342.
Okay, and we're not dealing with that,
No.
that we're doing, okay? Remind me, don't I have to make a motion?
No, no.
Oh, I don't.
The information that he submitted excludes one parcel.
I see,
I don't want to attach it to that parcel in the end.
okay. This is item on our protest agenda 1339, and that was,
So count 32,995, and the
yes.
value is 283,9.
Okay. I got it, 32,995. Why don't we make that one, he likes zeros, but what, 80?
He round.
Yeah, 283,880, how about that? Does that sound right?
Well, if I'm, he said 283,872, he rounded it up to 900.
283,900.
900? Oh, okay, that's fine.
900.
Which item was that?
That's,
I move that on protest number, we adjust the fair market value to 283,900.
second motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote to adjust as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwilling,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I get all the paper. I know I have another one. Where have I lost it? Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Okay, item number 1341 on our protest agenda, and that is 445,000.
Correct.
And there, let's see, 4,
600. 440,600.
where am I? I can't.
It's 45,000, the third one down.
Third one down, okay. And that is 40, okay, 600, you said, it's.
Yeah,
Okay.
440,600.
Ruth, you want to move
Why
that?
don't we set the fair market value at 440,600?
I'll second that motion. We'll vote as the roll is called to adjust it to 440,600 as the fair market value.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes?
Mr. Vanderwilling,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
The next protest item is 1342, which would be 45 or 55230, right? Yeah,
is
the
the very
very
top.
top.
It's already rounded.
Okay,
Good job when you bought that.
yes. I move that we set the fair market value on this parcel at 196,500.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote as the roll is called to set the value at 196,500 on this parcel.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines.
Yes.
Team 43,
263,
and it is, yeah, what's the one? The other number is 69266, right? There it is, the very bottom. And that would be, did you say, Ruth?
263, 200.
Okay, I'll second that motion to adjust the fair market value on this parcel to 263,200.
Ms. Gaines, was that a motion?
That is the motion I move that we set the fair market value.
And I seconded it. We'll vote as the roll is called to adjust.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines.
Yes.
They're a little bit lighter.
Oh, isn't it the
This
truth?
is going to be on to,
Let's see, let's see.
Okay,
I'll put that.
so are you gentlemen finished or you're going on?
So we are, and we're appreciative of your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarity of your presentation.
What's that doing? Appreciate your time.
All right. We're going to do elected agreements, I hope.
For all of
I've got the person, big man, I've got the person.
Like, they better be excited with themselves.
Wake up and get excited.
Yes.
It is item number 1376 on our agenda. Walmart Real Estate Business T. I have here, read into the record that this is at 6625 South Memorial Drive here in Tulsa. It's previously on for 16,930 million. And the assessor, after the informal, proposed to lower it to $15,226,500. They were appealing to have it reduced further to $13,500,000 even. We appreciate, well, I won't read all that. It says we have an agreement according to the orange here. What's up?
All right, I cannot find the printed email, but I have the one in front of me here, between Clint Vogt and Donna Sanders from Walmart. And they have, confirmed that they would like to settle at $13,900,000.
13,900,000 by agreement. I so move. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and second to adjust this by agreement to 13,900,000. We'll vote as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Ah, I'm getting tired. Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yeah.
It's cold in here now.
Oh,
You just read my mind.
I'm gonna bring my sweater next time.
It's
For
cold.
sure. All right, now, do I have more?
We did.
Yes, sir. Tessie has the rest.
Okay.
You sound a little gleeful.
No, I love you guys, man. You guys are my fave.
this is why we do what we do.
Now, when we get off the stand, we're gone.
All right, on our agenda, this is item number 1386. I'll read it into the record. They were here, Tulsa staff. This item is at 9010 East 71st Street. It was on previously for 1,775,900. After the informal, they were proposing to lower it to 1,511,000. And they were appealing to 1,000,002. The hospitality industry took a major hit from the COVID pandemic. With values pointing to major decreases in revenue, will take several years for recovery and stabilization. What do we have here? Speak your name first, just to make sure we got the tape.
This is Tessia Davis with the Tulsa County Assessor's Office,
Thank you.
and we're speaking on 1386, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so on 1386, we have Tina Patel, the owner, and I have decided to settle on 2,004,900.
2,004,000.
It went up.
That went up, huh? 2 million.
Uh-uh.
Is that right? Because that's unusual even for this board.
Well, let me make sure. I have a bunch of these here. 30 seconds.
Well, I wonder, it's not that there are two parcels this one owner has, is it?
In name.
We're working
Is it
on-
WHM Hospitality?
Yeah, that's what I've got. WHM Hospitality LLC. Let me look at this again, make sure. Yeah, that's what the paperwork says.
All right, and the account number ends in
Account number.
800.
Yes.
Yes, Tina Patel and I have agreed on 2,400, 2,049,000.
2,004,000.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong line. We have agreed on 1,403,000.
Ah,
That makes a little more sense.
1 million for what?
1,403,000.
1,403,000.
3,000.
1403000.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm gonna read this carefully as if I was in the first grade here, guys. Make sure I got it. 1,403,000.
Correct.
Okay. I move that we accept this by agreement. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote as the roll is called to adjust.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller.
Yes.
Ms. Gaines.
Yes.
It's item number 1387, Focus Enterprises. And this one is located at 3215 South 79th East Avenue. It was previously on for $1,497,900. After the informal, there was a proposed reduction to $1,371,100,000 even. And what do you have today?
For 1387, the owner Tina Patel and I have agreed on $1,219,400.
Okay, $1,219,400 is the agreement. I so move. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote as the roll is called on this agreement.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller.
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
Test item 1388, PH Stadium Hospitality. Property is located at 310 East Archer Street in Tulsa. Previously was on for $6,249,600. After the informal, there was a reduction to $4,630,000. And today there is an agreement.
Correct. Owner Tina Patel and I have decided to sustain the value of $4,630,000 for this account.
Okay, so this is a vote to sustain.
Correct.
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to sustain. We'll vote as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes. Is this the Holiday Inn Express?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Protest item on our agenda is 1389, HPT Hospitality LLC. I noticed that they are also 1390. Is there still separate agreements?
Correct.
All right, then this one is located at 7037 South Zurich East Avenue in Tulsa. It was on for $201,500. They were proposing to leave it there. And what is the agreement?
We've agreed on $141,000 for this account.
$141,000 even. And by agreement, I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote to sustain this agreement at $141,000 as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller, Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
This is fair market value. And final item on today's agenda, 1390, also HPT Hospitality LLC. This property is at 7037 South Zurich Avenue, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was on previously for $4,504,100. At the informal, they suggested $4,110,000 even. What is the number achieved by agreement?
For appeal 1390, we've agreed on $3,527,000.
$3,527,000 by agreement. I so move. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote as the roll is called.
is that Mr. Vanderwiller that second?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller,
Yes.
Ms. Gaines,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All I believe that completes the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to do adjourn. We'll vote as the roll is called.
Dr. Ketchel,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderwiller, Ms. Gaines.
Yes.
So ordered by action of the board, we are adjourned.